Mr. Bartley. Our next speaker is Lord Anthony Gifford, a member of the National Commission on Reparation and a passionate advocate of the cause of reparation, which we know from his work and from the title of his 2007 book. He was called to the English bar in 1962, became Queen's Counsel in 1983, and was called to the Jamaican bar in 1990. His human rights work is well known, and I'll leave him to tell you what happened when he raised the issue of reparation for African enslavement in the House of Lords all those years ago.
Madam Chair, Vice Chancellor, Prime Minister Gonzalez, Minister Thwaites, Professor Shirley, Professor Beckles, and so many distinguished academics, ladies and gentlemen. I really feel humbled, honored, and proud to be asked to speak at the launch of this very important book. The issue with which it deals has been dear to my heart for well over 20 years. Indeed, it was 20 years and 1 week ago that the first Pan-African Conference on Reparations was convened in Abuja, Nigeria. It was an initiative led by two great men, Chief Abiola of Nigeria, who then was elected President of Nigeria 3 months later, July 1993, but prevented from taking office by Nigeria's military rulers. One wonders why. And the second was our own Ambassador Dudley Thompson, another passionate advocate for reparations, who we remember with such love. This book is in 2 parts. The first part is written by Professor Beckles, the distinguished social and economic historian. The second part is written by Prof. Beckles, the activist and campaigner. In the first part, he delivers a searing account of Britain's shameful record over 4 centuries as the premier slave trading nation. He shows how the British state, not just merchant adventurers, the British state was involved at every level. The monarchy was involved, from Queen Elizabeth I onwards. Parliament was involved. The judiciary was involved. The government was involved in building the slave castles and owning slaves. And in a brilliant chapter, he shows how the Church of England blessed the trade and then itself owned vast plantations, committed terrible crimes. He debunks the claim that slavery was, quote, legal at the time. We know from international law, as embodied in the Nuremberg Principles, that a crime against humanity is not excused by laws passed by the state which is committing the crime. He argues with conviction that the collaboration of some African leaders was secured by the brute force of the British colonialists. And he describes the extraordinary enrichment of the British economy from the institution of slavery. He analyzes the £20 million spent in compensation paid to the slave owners for the loss, as you know, of their quote, unquote, property. Above all, he exposes the racism of the whole enterprise. The writings of those who justify the trade, he says, I quote, represented the moral descent of the British mind into the darkest pit of racial hatred, unquote. No British person can read this book, which I urge you to read, for I read and inwardly digest without a deep sense of shame. Now in part 2, Prof. Beckles, the campaigner, takes over. He describes the ups and downs of the movement for reparations in the last 20 years, from the Abuja Conference to the Durban Conference Against Racism in 2001, in which he, leading the Barbados delegation, played a leading role. He played a leading role in holding the line against this argument of everybody else that it should be slavery, should have been legal. No, should have been illegal. Should have been a crime against humanity. No, he argued, I argued, it was and always was a crime against humanity. In a sense, this part of the book is unfinished. For we have to shape the history which is to come. Professor Beckles has given us in this book the knowledge and the arguments, and he will himself continue to be a leading player. I salute both the scholar and the activist. So where does the reparations movement now stand? We've established the legal and moral case for reparations. Many individual leaders in the Caribbean, and I single out Prime Minister Gonzalez, have spoken and written eloquently about it. I think we are now moving into a second phase. From talking about reparations, we are moving to claiming reparations. I see the reparations, the setting up of the National Commission on Reparations in Jamaica, first by the JLP government, relaunched by the PNP government, as a new and important first step. And it is being matched by governments across the Caribbean. You must, of course, Minister Thwaites, I have to tell you, you must make sure that the National Commission is equipped with the resources to do its job.
Right.
But it is important because for the first time, a Caribbean government, or a number of Caribbean governments, have asked to be advised by experts on the form or forms which reparations claim would take. The Commission will do its work and will deliver that advice. Whether the government will act on it depends on the mobilization of society both here and across the Caribbean, and indeed in the UK itself. There will be, there has been, there will continue to be serious opposition. The British government has adamantly refused to apologize or discuss reparations. And I challenged them directly in the House of Lords some 15 years ago. Our own Prime Minister, I hope, is going to make clear that she backs the work of the Commission. And because there's been some vacillation, misquotation, I don't know. Professor Beckles has said, and I agree, that we must mobilize Caribbean unity on this issue, as was shown at the Durban conference. This issue will not go away. The cause is just. The institution of chattel slavery has had deeply damaging consequences which last to this day. Reparation is not a matter of begging, still less revenge. It is a matter of just compensation for a crime against humanity. To me, it is the ultimate basic human rights issue. The message of the professor is it is up to us to get up, stand up for our rights.
Delivered like a true advocate. Thank you very much.